Yo, Mad Attackers, today's question of the day comes in from Nathan, and he says, working abroad has shown me what a terrible opinion people have of SA, being South Africa. How do you change that? Okay, I'm not sure if you're asking me directly how I have changed that, or how I would suggest that you or somebody else changes that opinion. I think before we even get into that, I need to address the fact that one cannot generalize and say that people have a terrible opinion of South Africa. Maybe the people that you have encountered on your travels have a bad opinion of South Africa, but I don't think it's fair or right to say that people have a terrible opinion of South Africa. There are people who have a bad opinion of Peru. There are people who have a great opinion of Peru. It's vice versa. The same thing goes for South Africa. So I think maybe don't generalize or even have that notion. It will entirely depend on the individual that you are coming into contact with as to whether or not they have a bad or good opinion of South Africa. So that's going to vary from person to person. I felt that that's important to include in here. Then how would I change their opinions? Look, I do not believe in trying to convert the unconvertible. In the same respect, I feel the same way about people or salespeople. You cannot sell to somebody who's unsellable. If that person doesn't want the product of what you're trying to sell, if people aren't interested in your content, there is no point in beating your head against a freaking wall trying to convince them. What I do, and I practically do this, the same thing goes for if people don't believe in my goals, the same thing goes for if people don't believe in what I'm saying. What I do is I preach, so to speak. I follow my message, I tell my truth, I exhibit what I believe to be true, and then I ignore everything else. And the people who align themselves with my thought patterns, who align themselves with my perspectives, becomes my community, becomes the people who are my support base, who agree with what I'm saying. And so I would say the same thing would go for if you're trying to convince people that SA isn't a terrible place. I would preach the message or the idea or the thought or the notion or the truth that South Africa isn't a bad place, and then I would focus on the community who agree with you. Wherever you're talking this, whether that's you're talking in a group of 5 people and 2 people agree that South Africa is a good place, I would focus on them. I would chat more to them. I wouldn't worry about trying to convince the other 3. Or the same thing goes online. If people are like, oh, SA is a shithole, there's so much crime, I would say, cool, I respect your opinion, that's fine. And then I would spend all my time conversing or interacting with the people who agree with what I'm saying. I don't see any point in trying to convince the unconvincible. Like there's no point. You are wasting your time and your energy. And what you'll find is that indirectly, by being positive, by talking your truth, by being passionate about that, and by growing a community around what your thought process is, you will find that those other people will either A, be completely unaware of it and continue to have the same opinion, or if you continue to push your content, and when I say push, I don't mean in an aggressive way, if you continue to ensure that they are seeing your posts, that they are hearing what you're saying in public, and what you're saying has truth and validity, and there's a support base around it, they might, there's no way to control it, but they might start to reconsider their perspective on it. So that's how I would tackle it. I would just tell you the truth, find a community that supports what you're saying with, and then get the fuck on with your life, because not everybody's gonna have a bad opinion, and they're entitled to have whatever opinion they want to. They're human beings. You can't control that. So I hope that answers it. It was a great question. I deeply fucking appreciate you sending that in. And then before we finish up, if any of you Mad Attackers have any questions at all, please comment your questions down below. Remember, I'm choosing one of these to answer every single day.